better get ready for some horrible disc golf takes. Just kidding. Well, kind of. We gathered some of your favorite content creators and maybe some people you hate, but all of them answering the questions straight from the disc golf world. Oh yeah, and in case you forgot, that's the channel you're watching this on, since this will be the last time you're hearing my voice. I know, most of you are happy to hear that. So if you enjoy, how about you drop a like and subscribe? Not for us, but for these guys. Also, comment if you want to see more videos like this. Okay, that's enough for me now.
Is this the greatest disc golf offseason ever?
I think there are some big points to highlight when it comes to that.
I mean, you're going to be hard-pressed to convince me otherwise.
Normally, I'm very against this is the best of all time. But we have really seen some huge, unexpected moves.
Maybe not the best for all. Super exciting. Very dramatic.
Yeah.
More than any season that I can think of.
We had Big Germ move. We had Rick and Conan get kicked off only to land somewhere else.
You have both Ezra and Isaac Robinson walking away from Prodigy, both splitting up and going to their own respective sponsors.
Discraft tapped into their inner Thanos and started to collect all the Infinity Stones. They extended their current team. They signed AB to a 3-year extension. They grabbed Kale. They got Ricky to convert to the dark side.
Climo coming out of whatever cave he's been in for the last however many years to make discs and have them produced by Discraft.
If you look at major icons leaving their brands, like Kale, leaving Prodigy, Big Germ, and Kenny the Champ leaving Innova, those are big ones there.
I would say in terms of movement and deals and shifting and everything along those lines, yeah, it probably is the greatest offseason to ever happen for disc golf.
I think it's the most consequential offseason we've had in a while in terms of the future of disc golf and like the trajectory all the offseason movement has caused. Best, I don't know, consequential, yes, absolutely.
I don't necessarily know if this is the one. Back into 2022, we saw quite a few things. Drew signed a multi-year $1 million deal. Kristen signed for $500K. Katrina Allen, remember her? She left Prodigy after winning a world title. Chris Dickerson left Prodigy after his best season on the team. We saw Yuli and Sexton get big deals.
I mean, it's definitely hard to argue against that this is the greatest disc golf offseason ever.
And then even when you look outside the game, you have things like Brixton card breaks becoming even more popular and a big resurgence there, as well as whatnot streams, giving pro players the ability to engage with their audiences and their fan base, sell discs, sell cards, sell anything they want.
Since I started really paying attention to the off seasons, this one's been pretty awesome.
Who do you think made the best moves in terms of team dynamics this offseason?
I think this is going to be everybody's answer for this question, but Discraft.
I mean, clearly Discraft, right?
Discraft has turned into the Yankees of disc golf. They've signed every big name there is minus Gannon Burr.
I'm going to have to go with Discraft. It's a obvious one.
I mean, the best has to be Discraft, no? I mean, you're bringing in a name like Kale LaVisca, you're bringing in Ricky Wysocki after his drama at Dynamic Discs.
Ezra, and then the deal they're doing with Climo.
I wouldn't count Climo as part of Discraft. They are supporting his venture, but he is not a part of Team Discraft. I wouldn't call him a Discraft pickup.
But when I think about a good dynamic, is that a good dynamic to have all of those superstars? Like, is there going to be some cannibalization when you talk about like their tour series discs? Is that good for the team? They have 13 people on their Elite Series team.
If we're talking about, perfect fit when it comes to team dynamics, I have to go right away to Big Germ joining Team MVP.
But also signing Silva Saarinen to a 4-year deal. I think that's huge.
Because they're really showing us, who they are and that they know who they want to go acquire. They're not going out and they're buying tour, they're not buying tour wins. They're going and they're trying to partner with established, proven personalities that know how to move plastic and engage with the fan base.
Which player signing surprised me the most?
Definitely Germ to MVP.
It's got to be Big Germ is the one. I didn't see him leaving. I didn't see him going to MVP.
My answer would be Germ to MVP. I don't know where he was going when they were moving. MVP wasn't even on my radar. I thought maybe Discraft so that he could join his buddy Yuli.
Didn't even see him leaving Innova in the first place, so to hear that was a bomb.
Maybe not the signing, but the departure of Big Germ leaving Innova. I did not see that coming. That was it kind of shocked me when I first read it. I was like, what?
I'm going to say Isaac to Latitude. I really did not expect that to be where he landed.
My surprise is just more that one of the big three didn't get him. I didn't see a player like Isaac going to a House of Discs brand. I would have thought that MVP, Innova, Discraft were going to be, the destinations for him.
I'm gonna have to go with Rick. That was crazy to me. I know, disc golf world and some people have been saying that it's gonna happen, but that's still wild to me that he's on the same team as Paul, and the fact that Discraft just owns them all.
They really do. They got them all.
They caught them all.
Probably Kale LaVisca. Dude's in his 40s. He plays very few select events. Most of the events that you do see him playing, he's generally playing in Masters. I just didn't understand the pickup of a 40-year-old semi-retired disc golfer, former pro, semi-pro. I just didn't see the big deal in that one and why that was such an important signing over anybody else.
Ken Climo signing to have his discs printed by Discraft, that's so surprising. The dude bled Innova for years, and now Discraft is making his disc. And I still think it's a strange move that by Discraft, because Ken has been so far removed from the game for a long time that's such a gamble.
Who was the single biggest acquisition this offseason?
A single biggest acquisition, I'm going to go with Isaac.
Potential-wise, Isaac, again, to Latitude. I think he has the potential to really push that team into the stratosphere.
I went with Isaac. He wins world championships, and I'd imagine he's going to sell a good bit of plastic for Lat.
I think Isaac and Kristen on Latitude is going to be a great combination for that brand.
Isaac's tough, though, because he just doesn't bring a lot to the table other than being a two-time world champion. He's not that marketable. He
a two-time world champion and a major champion. He doesn't bring much to the table.
If they really put effort into more or less media training him, coaching him, really boosting the personality side of his game, I think he could have the largest impact.
I'm going to have to go with Big Germ because it puts MVP that much further on the map and in everybody's faces as a prominent player in this game, with the fact that Big Germ does practice rounds for Jomez. He does post-produce coverage. You're going to see MVP Axiom logos all over the place.
Ricky to Discraft. I think he's the only legacy world champion that's still competitive. No shots at Paul Macbeth, but he was probably the biggest free agent out there outside of like Isaac that could have been signed. So I think Ricky to Discraft was probably the biggest.
I'm going to go with Ricky on this one. They had a chance to grab him up. I think they got him for 3 years. I think that they probably maybe got him for a little bit of a deal since he got some money coming in from Dynamic still. And why wouldn't you want Ricky Wysocki on your team?
Absolutely.
He's one of the best players in the world. Absolutely. What a crazy team. This Ricky on top of all those other guys is crazy.
And it's kind of like if Luke had joined the dark side.
If Ezra wins, if he gets a win, that's a huge get for Discraft.
When he gets a win.
Yeah, when he gets a win.
I think if you think about acquisitions, extensions, signings, all that stuff, the biggest one is MVP signing Silva Saarinen to a 4-year contract because they don't have much of an FPO presence without her. She's a proven winner who is only getting better year over year, and she provides them with a really great entryway into the European market. And for the next 4 years, she is going to single-handedly keep MVP in the discussions within the top 10 in FPO week after week that she plays.
Which signing do you think will have the biggest impact for their sponsor?
It's got to be Latitude. They're the only small brand that acquired a big name. I think any of the acquisitions from Discraft aren't going to be super influential.
If they can find a way to get Isaac in a Nike sports bra commercial, I think it would do gangbusters.
I'm going to put Emily Weatherman on this pedestal. I think she's doing great things as a very young talent. She's going to take Innova and run with it, and I think she's going to do great things.
I'm going to have to double down on my germ to MVP.
I think this one's big germ. The media side of him, like he has his hands in everything. Jomez, those practice rounds, people are going to get to see him throwing the gyro everywhere. You're talking about 100K to 200K views per episode for those practice rounds. I mean, that's huge.
Yeah, it's exposure.
Yes, that's a lot of exposure.
MVP just picked up Simon. They just picked up Eagle. They're experiencing a large boom. So I think that germ isn't quite going to have that same. It's not going to be as visible because they're already dealing with a boom.
Germ can do as far as actual eyes on that sponsor, and it's going to be he's wearing MVP hats, MVP polos, MVP t-shirts. He's going to be promoting MVP Jomez discs. It's more of a bigger acquisition in terms of what it's doing for MVP more than maybe even Germ, because it's now they're prominent, they're in everybody's faces, and it looks almost as if MVP is pushing Innova out of the way to become number 2 in the game.
Have any of the player signings made you question the long-term strategy of certain sponsors?
Not necessarily signings, although there have been a couple good ones by them since, but definitely what House of Discs is doing as a whole.
I'm continually perplexed by Dynamic Discs and what they're doing.
You buy out Ricky Wysocki and Kona Montgomery early from their contract with big money still owed to both.
I don't want to say dropped because they did not drop Ricky. They came to an agreement on the buyout of his contract. And I think they just could not afford to meet the financial burden of his contract for the remaining year.
But before you do that, you bring in Isaac Robinson for what we already now know is a fairly large salary plus sales on top of his cushy salary that he's making from House of Discs.
I don't really question anything in terms of the longevity of sponsors. Really, it's just kind of curious as to what Dynamic Discs is doing, and it seems like it's just kind of a full restructure.
I don't think any real move happened. Nothing off the top of my head is going to affect the longevity. I think Discraft handles their money well. Latitude made a great investment. I think instead of the acquiring part of it, I think Dynamic lost a big opportunity for them with Ricky.
What have they done this offseason? They let go of Kona, who is not a proven winner, but she is a really strong social media presence within the disc golf industry. I think that there's a lot of value there. They let go of Ricky, who is a proven winner and a grinder off the course when it comes to sales of his own stuff. They extended Zach Melton, who is not a proven winner, and his sales are questionable. They extended Raven Klein, not a proven winner. Sales are questionable. They signed Macy Valadiaz, who is unproven, coming back after having a baby. They signed Parker Welk, who had a big win a while ago and has kind of been a little bit silent since. The last one is they signed Evan Smith. I think there's legitimate potential here for him to be a winner. So I think that could be a great acquisition for them. But it just doesn't feel like when you take all these things together that they've made legitimate moves that are proven to help improve their shaky financial situation.
Discraft, and like I said, they got Ricky now. So you got all these studs. You got everybody. You've caught them all. But guess what? If you have a ton of studs in the barn, you got to feed them, right? So if the more players, and it's not a bad thing, but I just wonder what strategy there is, because everybody that buys a Ricky disc is taking a sell from another player on that team, right?
I think Innova had a very interesting offseason. The fact that they didn't really sign anyone and they let a lot of people go, I am kind of wondering their long-term strategy, and are they hurting more than they're letting on? Or maybe they're just going a different direction and saying, hey, we don't need to necessarily sponsor players because people are going to buy our discs regardless.
Which player who signed a single-year contract will garner a multi-year contract next year?
Emily Weatherman. I think she's going to excel, and I think she's going to pull at least a 2-year deal after this year.
I'm going to say Emily Weatherman. We'll see if maybe she'll extend it with them again and for the next seasons, or if she picks someone else up, she's going to be a huge asset to whatever team she's on.
Believe
As long
so.
as sky's the limit for her, she keeps at it.
My answer is going to be Emily Weatherman to Innova on a 1 year. I think she's going to be a new up and comer with Innova, and she's probably going to sign multiple after this if she has a good year.
I'm going to have to go with Gavin Rathbun. He was starting to build on his game all of 2024 with an open bag post injury after Dynamic kicked him out the door because of an injury.
I'm going to go Gavin Rathbun, and I think he's going to come out and ball out, and it might not be with Prodigy the next contract.
I'm going Gavin Rathbun. He could pop off at a couple of events and I guess become the ultimate face of Prodigy.
I think that Gavin is the best player on Prodigy's team. When you look at overall skill level and overall potential, I think Gavin is the horse they want to hitch their cart to. And if he has a really solid season, he picks up that big win, I could see them wanting to lock him up to something that's multi-year.
I am not a Joel Freeman fan, but I think he plays well enough to garner at least a 2-year deal if he really has a strong season.